Hi all, I'm Jeanette Keynes from Jewelry Arts Inc. In this video, I'm going to show you how to bezel set an emerald cut tourmaline. Emerald cut stones can definitely be a little tricky, but I'm going to show you how to do it so you don't have any problems. Okay, just to show an extreme close-up, this is Susie's pendant, which of course right now is shrouded in jet set and nice painter's tape, but eventually when that's all done, we'll take it all off and you'll get to see it in all its glory. But we were just talking about how, you know, getting the height right when you're setting faceted stones is everything. And we do these little adjustments and we look, we do little adjustments and we look, and now we are happy. So what I'm trying to show is that if you look from the side here, you can't see the girdle. The girdle of the stone should be just below the top edge of the bezel. And usually I use a little dowel, you know, to press it and make sure it's in there nice and level. You see, because you see how that sort of bounced. Before it's set, it can wiggle around. So that's why whenever I come over to check it, I'm always like, let me have a dowel, because you just never know until you press it down level what you're really seeing and looking at. But also, because this whole thing too is how it looks right now pressed down with the dowel, that's how it's going to be when you set it, because when you start to press that bezel in, it's going to do that. Okay, so that's why it's just important to sort of do that to know. You see that, how it loves to just kind of boink, 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 yeah. Bounce around. Because like right now, I bounced it, right? And you can see on the right-hand side, you can just see a tiny bit of the girdle, but that's not accurate. You know what I mean? That's not pressed in. So just remember, if you're not pressing on the top of your stone with a dowel, you don't really know what you've got happening. Okay? So now we'll go in and start setting from the top. So there's the further back view, all shrouded up. The height is good. I'm all happy with that. So we're ready to set. We're going to use the bezel roller from the Master Setting Tool Set. I always have to get on my sexy voice when I, go, ooh, don't you want this? Okay, that's enough of the plug for the day. So as you remember, when you use these tools, you use them in the palm of your hand. So your thumb and your forefinger goes on either side like that. And you always want to be up at a 45-degree angle when you set. So in other words, at least like this. If your angle's too low, it tends to just eject the stone. Now what we have here, this is like sort of a variation of an emerald cut. So you've got a rectangle, but then it does have these little facets, so to speak, these little angles in the corners. So then, since that's the sharpest spot, that's where you're going to start. Because anytime you're setting a stone, you always go with the sharpest points first. So if like a pear shape, you would go with that before you start messing with any of the other stuff, okay? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stand up because I'm short and I get better leverage that way. I'm gonna put my finger on top of the stone in case I slide, which, does happen. So all I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna just like press in opposing presses on those little facets right there. Here, 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 and then start working our way around. You see that right there? So, press. And here's the thing. Stones with sharp corners like this are fragile. Even a diamond, if it has a really sharp corner, you can't go too cuckoo bananas. So you just have to sort of treat it with love.
So not really hard press.
Yeah, like I'm pressing, but you don't want to be just like, like you have a round cabochon, you're like, this you have to be a little more loving.
So you actually start lower and then increase your
angle. Yeah, because I'm trying to like press them in and down a little bit. That's why the 45-degree angle is so good. Because essentially, you don't want to work on any of these straight sides until there's no extra space in the corners. So let's see what we got here. Still see a little bit right there. And usually I try to do, opposing presses because that helps to hopefully hold it in place a little bit faster. See, sometimes you slide, which is why the tape is such a necessity. We wouldn't want anything to happen to our beautiful little granules. Okay, now I'm gonna like press in this little space because that looks like the biggest space that I have, like right there. Let's get that pressed in. You see what I mean? It starts to really bring your shape, you know, into focus, so to speak. Because no matter how perfect, quote unquote, you make your bezel, when you're putting it in and out, it's never going to be like absolutely perfect. I mean, you know, we do what we can and all that kind of a thing, but. And also, the holding the stone down is two purposes. Like one, yes, I don't want to slip and hurt my stone, but also I'm holding that stone down in place because until this really gets tighter, that inner bezel is holding that thing up and it's just sort of, you know, wiggling around in there. So I want to make sure it sits there and behaves itself. So as I'm going, you're also got to like check from the side to get the side view to make sure that it's nice and level. Because faceted stones love to do that. They love to wiggle around on their inner bezel. And if you don't stop and look and make sure that they're level, you might keep going and then have a problem because your stone would be off. Okay? So, finger on top. Press in. Try not to slip for the video. But I always say we have a no bullshit clause for the videos. This is how it actually happens. Okay, press in. Okay, so like it's not completely done, but take a look. You see how it really starts to spiff up.
Yep.
So what I'm gonna do is hand it over to you
Okay.
and have you work on it, and then we'll check back in.
Okay. And I am at some point going to go even higher.
Yeah. But I mean, look at how gorgeous that stone is.
It does look pretty, doesn't it?
I made the mistake of not doing a shot of the pendant before we covered it all up, but we'll see it at the end. Because it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, look at that. So, hopefully you can see how gorgeous that is. How smooth and beautiful and tight. Looks lovely. Really, all we have to do now is we'll do a little bit of polishing on the top, you know, using a Swifty wheel so that we don't have to worry about scratching the stone. So we're going to stop. We're going to unveil the whole piece, get the tape off, get the jet set out of there, and then we'll show you a little polishing. I mean, look at that.
I know, it's so beautiful.
I
Right?
do happen to love it. Well,
You do. Look at that. You granulated and you made that fancy bezel.
And you were scared of
set it.
granulating, so
That's
that's
right,
a
man.
big accomplishment.
I mean, the net was very influenced by that, but I do.
It takes a village to make jewelry.
I happen to like the granulated situation.
It's beautiful, really gorgeous. And remember, you know, when I was learning, there were people helping me. That's how it works. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, I mean, just look at that. Are you fucking kidding me?
Just
Just a
gorgeous.
chain so I could wear it out of here. Well, I guess
Do you have a chain?
No, I made this.
How about a leather cord?
Yeah, just take a leather cord would be good, or you can
maybe put it
put it
on.
on that
I
one.
mean, I happen to have made this.
Oh, here, hold on. Here. Okay, we'll come back to you in a moment. Hold on, we're gonna try this on a strand of beads and see what it looks like. And it does fit on the strand of beads. Look at that! Oh my God, so fabulous. So the only thing we have left to do is a tiny bit of polishing, but we just got so excited we had to put it on the strand of the ruby beads, right?
Ruby beads, yeah.
Delish. All right, well, we'll go now and do the polishing that we're supposed to do, but I'm very proud. That looks absolutely delicious.
I love it, yeah.